Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make a door. This is going to be an automatic door that when you walk through, it's going to open up and it'll automatically close. It won't allow you to start it up unless it's finished. It's a little process. It looks pretty. It's got some sounds in it, and we'll just kind of start from scratch over on this one. Now, I am using some Cinti assets, so these are paid assets. So uh, if you guys don't have the Cinti Polygon stuff, I'd recommend taking a look at it, first of all. But if you don't, which is highly probable, you can just follow along by creating some new like basic mesh or something like that. I'll quickly go over that there, but just to make it look pretty, I went and used some of these assets. So I'll go ahead and I'll just start. So this one's a blueprint that's already there. So what I'll do is I'm just going to go back and create a new one. So let's call it tutorial door. And I'm just going to create a new blueprint and we'll call that, see, blueprint class. It's going to be an actor. I'm going to call it BP door tutorial. And we'll double click on that guy. Um, Here we go. This is just going to be basic. There's nothing in there. I've got the mesh here, so I've got it in the mesh. I've got these three things here. I'm just going to drag them in. And then we'll see that. Actually, before I get myself too confused, I'm going to delete that one from the scene. Okay, so if you don't have any mesh or anything like that and you want to follow along, I'd recommend just creating a couple boxes. You can just create a cube here. You can just go ahead and shrink it, just make it in the same shape. It doesn't have to be exact, obviously. Um, and there's not going to be a way that you can make it exact because you don't have anything to trace. But just kind of create something like this. I'm just going to quickly do it. And then like duplicate that, duplicate, duplicate again, rotate, 9. You got, here's your door frame really essentially. Um, and then duplicate that again, drag it to the bottom. And I'm just going to turn the visibility off on these ones so you can see what I'm doing. So essentially you could just do that and you could duplicate this again. Um, or if you model in 3D modeling software like Blender or Maya, you can definitely do that. But just to follow along, if you really wanted to, you could just do this. And then duplicate that one more time, and then now you've got this, and then you maybe change them colors or something like that. Who knows? But that is essentially it. But because I've got these beautiful meshes, I'm going to go ahead and use them. First thing first, though, I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a. I'm going to take this. I'm going to rename this. So I'm going to call it door frame, and then we're going to call this door upper. Let me just clear this out. Oh, this is your door upper. Door upper, and we'll do door lower. And we'll just kind of put them in place. I think this one here, if we take these two, I want to nest them underneath the frame. Take the frame and make that into the default scene root. And then I'm going to take lower and I'm going to put this to -10. And I'm going to put this one here to 260. I think that should work. I know this because I've done this so many damn times. So uh, essentially, you just got a door. And what we want to do is we're going to start adding some code to that. So the code is going to be fairly simple, for straightforward. We're going to go into the, actually before we do that, I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a box collision. And we're going to call that our player, what is it? Player detection volume. Volume. Okay. And then we'll make sure that's snapped to the door frame. Uh, yeah, there. And then we're just going to make it the size we want it to be. So just assume however big that is, that's going to be where the player enters, and that will activate it. So we could have it about there. That seems about right. Okay. And then compile and save. I'm gonna go back in the event graph here. I'm gonna delete all these nodes that are here. We really want to just deal with this player detection volume. So on the right hand side, we'll find under the events, we'll find begin overlap. Um, and then here, what we're gonna want to do is we're just gonna cast to our player character. Um, Most characters will inherit from the character parent blueprint. So you could do one of two things. Because we're using the third person example here, we could just do a cast to third well, BP third person character. We could do that. Or if we want, say like we have a third person character, and then we also on top of that have a an NPC one that doesn't inherit from the third person character, and this isn't the top one, we could just do a cast to character, and that'll be the top outline top one. This actually stops. This will actually cast to the actor. So it casts to the actor that's entering the volume. It checks to see if it's a character. And to do that check, we want to do is valid. So if we do is valid here, connect that to here. This is checking to see if the actor that went through into the volume is a valid character. And if not, um, it won't fire any code. This stops you from, firing a projectile or throwing a grenade or driving a vehicle over or anything like that, anything entering that volume. If that is not a character, it will not fire this code, therefore it will not open that. If that's what you want, maybe just bypass this as well. Who knows? Maybe it's something, maybe there's only specific characters that you want to have go through there. A check like this will actually help that. So once we've done that, let's go just skip through all the fun or the annoying stuff, and let's just create the fun stuff. So we're going to take the door lower and upper, these guys here. We're going to just drag them into here, and we're going to just go set relative, let's say location, because we're going to only move it on the z-axis, just because the way I want it to go is to have this guy go up and this guy go down. So to do that, I'm only modifying the z-axis, so I don't really care about doing any, transforms. It's going to include scale and rotation. Just don't need to worry about it. So I'm going to copy this node here, paste that, plug it into here, and we're going to set that for the lower as well. So this is going to do two things when it fires. It's going to set the relative rotation for both of them. In order to get that though, I'm just going to create a timeline. And then this timeline here is going to be called activate door. And then we'll just do play from start on is valid. We'll be putting some extra stuff in there for checks and stuff like that, but just to kind of get the ball rolling here, I'm going to do it like this. So I guess the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to specify the location. I'm going to right click and split the struct pin on both of these guys. And what we want to do is we want to modify the z-axis only. So that means we'll double click on this timeline and we're going to create a float track. I'm going to call it door upper. And then I'm going to do another one and I'm going to call it door lower. I think I want this thing to open in like 1.2 seconds maybe. So that's going to set the timeline length, duration. For the door upper, I'm going to click shift and I'm going to click shift again. And that's going to create two keyframes. Time for the first one is going to be 0. And the time for the other one is going to be 1.2 because that's the end of our timeline. I'm going to do the same thing for this 0 and 1.2. Make sure you're doing that on the time and not the value. If I go back to the event graph, I'm going to plug this into update. And we just need to specify the values that it's going to be doing. So we just want to go into the viewport and see where we're at. So the resting value here for the top one is 260 on the Z. These ones are all zeroed out, which is perfect. And this one here is negative 10. So remember 260 minus 10. We'll go back into this here. We'll set this to 260. We'll set this one to minus 10. So those are the resting values. I'm going to hit F and it just show me what's on the map there. And so, yeah, we'll go back into the viewport and we're going to guess, okay, so when we move this down to here, I'm going to say minus 140. Sounds about right. And this one is, I'm going to say, what is this? 380? 400? Yeah, I see a little bit of it tipping out. That's kind of cool. Um, Actually, I would say 410. Okay, so we got 410 and minus 140. Let's go back into the timeline, and this one here is the lower. Yes, lower 260. Actually, no, this is wrong. Wait, no, sorry, this is right. Okay, upper, upper. So lower actually is minus 140. That's the value we want here. So we're gonna do minus 140. I'm gonna click on upper there, and then I'm gonna see 410. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna click 410 for that. Should look like that. Yeah, looks good. Compile and save. And then we're going to go back into the event graph and we're going to use these float tracks that we just created to plug in the Z. So door upper is going to go into Z on door upper. Door lower is going to go into Z on door lower. That should be good enough. Let's just go ahead and compile, test out our beautiful blueprint. Be good if we just put that in there. Also, I'm going to go back into the blueprint here and I'm going to reset those values. So what do we say? This one was 260 and this one was negative 10. Yeah, that seems about right. Cool. All right, and then I'll just kind of bring that up, hit end to drop it onto there, and make sure it's further back so we don't spawn in the volume. It's gonna make a pain in the butt. So now if I go over here, you could see it's opening. But if I go into it again, it keeps repeating that. So we're going to want to stop that part. That's annoying. So what we'll do is we'll go back in here and we're just going to go into the event graph and we're going to create a new variable called isBusy question mark. Now, I'm going to get that value, hold B to do branch, and unplug that into here. And right after checking to see if it's valid, I'm going to slide this over here and bring that in and just say, do a check. Is this busy? If it is busy, we're just going to do print string for now. We'll delete that later, but then we're just going to go here, make that red so we can remember. And I'm going to make it 5 seconds. And then I'm going to say, door is busy. Busy. Okay. And then if it is not busy, we'll continue with the code. Play from start. It's going to drag that over here. Okay, so now we'll do that. Once it is completely finished, though, we're going to want to set that to not be busy. So we're going to say set is busy to no. And once this whole animation is completed, it will say it's not busy. I might actually put a delay there. I usually do. Let's say like 2 seconds. So it won't just be not busy for 2 seconds. So it just lets the door rest a little bit. And now, if I go like this, oh, still doing it. Never mind. Let me just take a look. What did we do wrong? Is busy false? Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay. We need to set that it's busy. So we need to set is busy to true right after we check. So if it's not busy, then we set it to busy and then we do this. If it is busy, we just tell you that it's the busy and we don't do anything. So now we shouldn't be able to do that. We'll just get that error until it's finished. And after it closes, which we haven't set up code for, uh, yeah, see, once it's finished, it waits 1 second and then it allows you to do it again. So now the next part is to do the opposite. We need to make it actually, once it's completed, we want it to close, right? So what I'm going to do is just on finished, we're going to do a branch here. So I want to see, so what's going to happen is it's going to go through here and then it's going to complete. And then when it's completed, it just sets it to not busy. We want to do a branch and we want to check to see if it's finished opening. So I'm going to create a new variable called opening door. We don't want to use is busy because if we use is busy and we set that back and forth, entering the volume can start everything over again. So this is kind of like is busy, but it's saying that it's opening the door. So we're going to do get, we're going to do a branch. And so we're going to go and check to see if this is actually opening the door. Obviously, we will have to set that value. So we're going to say if it's busy, we're setting it to be busy. We're setting it to opening the door. And then we go play from start. So now we have it setting it's busy. It's currently opening. It does the opening here. Then it goes here on finished, checks to see if it's opening. If it is opening, then we think we're pretty good at that point. Actually, if it's opening, then we know that it needs to close. That's it. So I'm gonna create a new custom event, and I'm gonna call that close door. And that is going to be something that we're going to want to call here, close door. So we'll plug the closed door into the reverse from end. That's just going to play the timeline backwards. It's just going to close the doors and make it look really good. So now what we're doing is we're saying, okay, is this opening the door? So we say, yes, it's not busy. So we're going to make it busy. We're going to set it to open the door. We're going to play through here. This is going to happen. Once it's finished, it's going to go over here and see, is it opening the door? If it is opening door, by default, it will be. Then what we're going to do is we're going to close the door. And then if it's already opened, so I'm thinking that we'll probably have to set is opening door to unchecked. So we'll do that. Let's see, we'll do that before closed door. And then we'll do that. So now we know that it's, if it is opening the door, we're going to set it to not opening the door, and then we're going to set it to close the door. And then what we'll do is on false, we're going to go plug into this, and we're going to set it to not busy. That way, it needs to go through the closed door. The closed door will do this. It'll reverse from the end. It'll play this backwards. It'll go through the finished. Then it'll come through and it'll check again to see if the opening as door is true. But because we selected false there, it's going to delay for 2 seconds. Then it's going to set that the door is not busy. That means anytime anything enters that as a character, it will actually be able to fire that again. So that should be pretty good. I think that's everything that we're going to need there. I might just put a delay also, just because if you think about it, this is going to be really annoying because it's going to open. It's going to open and it's going to immediately close. So what we want to do is we want to put a delay in there as well. So we'll do a delay. I'm going to say 3 seconds, but if you're not convinced about 3 seconds, what we can do is we can just drag this out, right click, promote to variable, and then we can just have it, call it open duration. And if you click on this and go down here, you click this little eyeball here, it'll make it instance editable. And what that does is allows us to specify that here in the details under open duration. I could set that to 5, set that to 3, set that to 9,847,000, whatever I want. But I'm going to keep it as 3 as that's the default. But instance editable means I can make 2 of them. One could be 5, one could be 7, whatever. So we'll just keep that there. So that looks pretty good. I think that should be pretty good. Let me just double check and see. We'll test it out. So it opens. I'm not able to force it to close because it's busy. It's going to eventually close itself and it's going to open itself to being open again or not busy. So well, that's pretty good. I like it. So yeah, so what I'd like to do now is add some sounds to that. So I've gone ahead, I've created a folder called SFX and I've brought these two, opening and closing doors. These again are paid ones, so I'm not able to share them with anybody. So if you can find some, you can find some really good stuff online for free in a lot of cases. So what I did was I actually created a sound cue. So I just right click on these guys and I create a sound cue by going to here. And then I've created those SC door close and door open. And each one of these is just, just the wave player playing with an output, but I've created an attenuation setting for this called ATT door. So to do that, I right click here and I create audio and then sound attenuation. And in there, I called it ATT door, but in there, I just went and changed this default value from like 400 to 500, no big deal. If you want to see it visualized, this is what you'll do. You'll take your door BP door tutorial thing here. We're going to go ahead and create an audio, and I'm going to call it SFX. Oops, come on, SFX door. And then I'm going to make sure that snap to the door frame, and I'll probably move it up to about here. From there, what you can do is you can choose that sound. So I called it open door. So I have an open door and a closed door. Open door. Okay, I can't remember what it's called, so I'm just gonna go, oh, door open. Okay, click and drag that over to here. By default, though, these sound cues are auto activated, so I type in activate and then turn that off so it doesn't play on event begin play. And so now you've got that in there. So now that this is here and you've selected that in the world, let's just see. Let's see, SFX door open. It's here. Let me just double check and see if, oh, sorry. I didn't choose this sound cue. We got to do the sound cue. So click and drag that into there. That will give you the visualization that you need to see. For some, oh, there you go. Now you can see this orb thing here, the sphere. That's going to tell you your inner and outer radius. So you can see the 3500 there and then the 500 here. So that's kind of the inner and outer radius of the sound attenuation cue. You can play around with the sound attenuation in here. And if you notice, when I just change this to like 1500, that's going to make it a lot bigger. So this is just the inner radius is going to be the loudest, and then it's going to fade out to the 3600. So you might be able to tiny hear it a little bit here. It's going to fade out until it gets to here where it's going to be full volume, essentially. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell. So now we have that. We're going to want to fire this in the blueprint. So in the blueprint, we'll just go back to the event graph, and I'm going to add in the SFX door. I'm going to set sound. I'll tell you about this in a second. And then I'm going to copy this and paste it. I know I could just connect those two, but I like it to look pretty. We're going to use a play. Connect those two to these, to there, da da da. Okay. And then we'll plug this in right before we actually activate the door. We don't want to do it on the update because you're going to hear it a million times on every tick. Also, we're going to want to specify whether it's opening or closing. And to do that, we'll just go here, drag that over to here, and that drags into here, play from start. Now we're setting the sound. So we want to do this again right here on closed door, reverse from end. So now we've got two of them. So we want to set the sound to whatever we want. So this one's going to be closed door. So I'm going to take the closed door and I'm going to set that here by clicking and dragging that right in there. And then I'm going to click and drag the open to there. So by default, it's open, but what we do is we specify it here just so we can flip it back and forth and play that. So that should play some sound. Let's try that out. And it's great, isn't it? Okay, so now that we have the door working, and we can't go through there, I'm gonna just kind of go through and get rid of this print string so we don't have to see that. Don't forget it for later. So that's pretty much all your code that you're gonna need for it. It's looking good, but the only thing that I don't like is if we look up here when we open and close the door, you're seeing the mesh go up and down. It's really ugly and it looks stupid. Sometimes you can kind of hide it, but sometimes you can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an advanced material here. It's going to be really neat. We're going to have to work it into the blueprint as well, but we'll just need to create that right now. So with the blueprint. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna create a. I'm gonna go to tutorial door. There's already material here. I'm gonna show you guys what exactly is going on here. It's pretty straightforward. It took me a bit to figure it out, but this is your basic material. So if you notice, we've got an M door, which is essentially just your base color. I've got an emissive color here. I actually multiplied that by an emissive color here that I can change. So this is a this is a this is a value that a parameter that I can change actually, and this one is as well. So if I create, which I didn't, but I mean I could, right click on this and create material instance and call that mi door instance or mi door. I can go in here and I can set global emissive strength and emissive color if I wanted to. I could change that to be like purple. Click OK on that one, and then because this isn't using the MI, it's gonna need to be. I'll just do it here. Door upper and lower. We'll just drag that into here and drag it in. Up. Oh no, this is all the magic here is going on in the door frame. So I'll show you that. So that's essentially it. I just wanted to kind of create something a little more interesting. But essentially, I've just taken the M door and I've added some extra code to it. So I duplicated that one and I created door disappearing. So this is all your basic code that you just saw there. And this, and this too. I'm just going to kind of drag that normal out there. So we're only dealing with this. Come on. So this is all the stuff that we're going to need to do. Now, if you type in world position, you're going to get absolute world position. And then you want to subtract that value because we don't want it to be world position. We want to subtract that from a parameter. So I'm just going to actually just cut this all out of here. So when you duplicate this material, what you're going to want to do is click on this guy here and switch the material blend mode from opaque to masked. That will give you the ability to play with the opacity mask. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm creating a world position and then I'm subtracting this value from the actual actor's world position. Now actor world position is going to be required in order to figure out where in the world this particular thing is going to happen. And then we've created some more stuff here. So I'm actually going to create a box mask 3D. And with that one, what we're going to want to do is plug in the value of whatever this is. We need this value, and I'll show you how to get that. And we're going to plug that into the A. And then the B is going to be another parameter that we need to figure out how to create. And then we're just going to do a bounds volume that I've created. I played around with it. 200 by 200 by 250 is what we need. So I just hit the number 3, hold 3, and then hit the left mouse button, and you've got that value. You can plug directly into bounds. For the size of the actual door that I've got, 200 by 200 by 250 seemed to be right. I had to play around with that a little bit. When you play with this value, you'll see it change, so you'll know what you need. So to get these two values here, we're just going to work on the blueprint itself. So we're going to go back to this blueprint here, and I'm just going to edit in blueprint. Here we go. So what we're going to want to do is go into the construction script here. And in this construction script is where we're going to need to specify these values. So we need to get at least one of these. We're not going to use door frame because if you see door frame is using the M door and door upper and door lower, those ones should be using the M door invisible, so disappearing. I'm going to drag that onto that right now. M door disappearing, and I'll drag that to this one as well. Actually, I'm going to go into that and I'm going to plug this value into the opacity mask. You're going to notice some stuff go on. I'm not sure how. See, yeah, it's cutting things off, and if you move things around, you're going to see them disappear if they get to a certain threshold. That's what we're going to want to kind of tweak. And for that, we're going to go into this guy here. Actually, we're going to go back into the construction script, and we're going to take the door. I'm going to take both of them just for the hell of it, drag those in there. And what we want to do is we want to set vector parameter value on materials. So what that is we just click on there. And so we're setting a vector parameter. And if we did see in the M door disappearing, we've got these two, right? This is just a vector parameter. So if I go vector parameter, and then I create a new one, I can call it whatever I want. This is how I've created this. And I just created one called actor world position and one called box location. Now I'm going to drag those in because I don't want to create them again. And I'm just going to put them in. The RGB is going to go into A or B. And then for the second one, the RGB is going to go into the V2 or the B value. So that's essentially it. We just created this here again. Now to create these ones, we're going to go back into here and we're going to just say, for this, we want to take the disappearing volume, which actually is something I didn't create. We're going to add and we're going to create a new box collision. And I'm going to call that disappearing volume. Just going to be a box volume that we're going to play around with. So for the construction script, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that. I'm going to drag this into here as well. I'm going to take this disappearing volume and I'm going to get the relative location. Okay. So we're going to plug that in there, and then this value here, we're going to go back to this guy. And this one is going to be the box location. So we want to copy that just so we get it perfect, and we're going to set that parameter value. So what it's essentially doing is it's grabbing these doors, it's grabbing the vector value on the materials, and we're setting the parameter name box location to be the disappearing volume. Now we're doing this on construction script because we don't really move this in the game. So if you actually have doors or whatever that are moved or that are, maybe it's part of a building system where you can drop them and place them, that's when you're going to want to kind of do this on tick or put this in a different place, not construction script. But for this one here, which is construction script, wherever we drag it or whatever in the editor, you could do it on event begin play as well, and you could do stuff like that. So I'm just going to quickly grab the set vector parameter values again. I'm just going to copy these two, and then I'm going to paste those here. I'm going to need to change this parameter name, so we'll go back into the disappearing. We can set it whatever we want, but I'm going to set the actor world position there. So we're going to name that parameter that, and then we're just going to get the actor location. Actor location. So we're just going to get our own location. So that's going to set that parameter. So if you go back here, you can see essentially what it's doing is it's taking the absolute world position of this whatever, the absolute world position, and then it's subtracting the actor world position, which is the parameter we just set. It's just subtracting those values so it can line up with exactly where it is. Then what it's doing is it's setting the box mask 3D based on the component inside this tutorial or the BP, and it's offsetting that. So then anywhere you put that box location will allow you to kind of change where the clipping is. And then we're just setting the bounds here to 200 by 200 by 250, just so there's kind of a little bit of a rectangle around it. And that's it. So if we go back here to our BP door tutorial and go to our viewport, we're seeing some stuff going on. What we want to do is take the disappearing volume and we want to move that around. So if you can see that, I don't know what scale. It's going to set the scale. Oh, sorry, that needs to be snatched or attached to this, and we need to just do that. Okay. And see, you can see this is kind of changing here. Let me just take a look. Can we see it? Can't. So, yeah, so the door lower and the door upper is here. So if you see that cutoff is right here, we need to just kind of play around with this disappearing volume and put it somewhere that makes more sense than that. I think there's something wrong here because it's not showing us what I want to see. So let me just take a look here. So we've got a subtract node connected to the XYZ. That's the problem. I was doing Z-axis before and it just wasn't working out. So I'm just remembering that. Okay, so here we go. So this one here was what, 200? What was it, 260? I think it's 260. Okay, so now our disappearing volume is going to show this. So what we're going to want to do is just kind of put those into those values where we want them to open. So if you see, this is not clipping beyond the door frame, and this one isn't either. I don't think there's anything on the bottom there either. So that looks pretty good. So the location of this is pretty solid. I like it. So we're just going to put this to 260. Oops. Nope, that is not what I meant to do. This one, minus 10, and this one, 260. So if we compile and save that, see how it doesn't move. If you don't do that little bit of code and math here, where is it? This one here. If you don't do this subtraction and this there, it's just going to stay no matter where you go. Like, here's an example. This is what I was dealing with. See, you can see its actual world location. So if it's at 000, it looks great, but anywhere else it does not. So, so that's why that little bit of code there, plugging this into here, doing that little math calculation will get you exactly where you want. So if you drop that over there and press play, you have this awesome door that doesn't show you anything. Now, keep in mind the mesh there is still going to be collidable, so you could probably, you know, mess around with some sort of collision changing thing or something like that if you wanted to. Because if you were to get up on top of this, you would actually collide with the invisible mesh because it is technically still up there. So it can have things like, you know, collision on bullets and things like that, that, you know, it's still there. So if you wanted to do something like that, you'd probably have to get fancy. I haven't really thought about it, but I'm just going to guess that here you'd probably want to create a collision mesh that's invisible that would just shrink, that would happen at the same time. And then what it would do is just kind of scale up and down, so it didn't go out of bounds of this, but it was just primarily just showing you, you know, what you're. I mean, it's just there for collision. But in most cases, for me and what I'm doing, I'm placing these on buildings and stuff, so you can, I mean, if I don't add this, you can see it clipping through the mesh, but as far as collisions, nobody's ever going to notice. So that's it in a nutshell. If you guys have any questions or anything about it, if it's not working or whatever, let me know. If you have anything else that you'd like to cover as well. I was going to go over network replication on this, but it's just really weird because I don't know if the newer versions of 5.7 or what are automatically replicating things, but if I switch to play as client and I go to 2 and I press play, I'm seeing network replication client side, which is typically not something I've seen before, because I will usually have to network replicate everything myself, but it seems to me that it's replicating out of the box. So I'm not going to ask any questions. If anyone has any questions on how to network replicate this in an earlier version of Unreal Engine, let me know. It's simple. We just add a couple things to it just make sure a couple of things are done. But if you're using the newer versions, I don't know if that's going to be an issue anymore. Amazing what they can do these days. Anyway, that's it for this video. I will see you guys in the next video. If you have any questions, like I said, post something in the comments. I'll get back to you, and happy coding.